guys, it's Avery here, and I'm finally doing the most requested video ever. How to hand make your own journal just using supplies that you most likely have in your house already. Here I have 3 examples of journals that I have handmade. So this one is the life journal that you guys see the most, where I get the most requested. So this one is like one of the very first ones I ever made. You can hear the handmadeness in it, but I like it like that. So there's this one. And then this one is binded very different than the other 2. So these two are, well, these 2 are binded the same, but they're different sizes. So this one's way skinnier than this one. Yeah, this is just different than these 2, and it makes it thinner, and like in between signatures, it is not so spread out as opposed to in between signatures. In this journal, it is kind of spread out, as you can see. If you don't know what a signature is, I'll explain that later. If you don't know what binding is, I'll explain that all as the video goes on. But I did want to explain in the introduction of this video that this is going to be kind of a 3-part tutorial thing. The one that I'm going to do right now is going to show you how to make the cover of the journal and all the papers inside of it and getting them together. And then the other 2 parts are going to be how to do this kind of binding and this kind of binding, and then that way you can decide which one you like more, which style you like best out of these types of journals, and then you can make your journal the way you want. Let's just go ahead and get on into the video. Okay, so first I'm going through some cardboard that I've already cut out. I've cut these out of cereal boxes, any kind of food boxes that I have, and that's what I mean by using household objects. You can use like actual crafting board or cardboard that's like harder if you want like a more sturdy journal, but just to make a journal for fun, it is so good to just recycle some like cereal cutouts. Anyway, next you will just go through some papers and find the paper that you want to use as your cover. For me, I just kind of go through and kind of like to find a theme, like a color theme or just any kind of theme, because I have a bunch of different styled papers. But if you don't want to use a bunch of styled papers, that's fine. You do you. I like to find a whole bunch so I know which ones I want to use on the inside. But on the inside of the journal, if you want to use just plain white paper, then you go for it, or lined paper, then you go for it. You don't have to use a bunch of themed paper if that is too much for you. But that is what I'm doing here, is just going through and finding a bunch of papers that go good together. And once you find the paper you want to use as your cover, you are going to line your cutout board pieces and see if they will fit fully on the paper. That is what you're trying to do. That way when you glue it all on there and fold it, it will all fit perfectly and nicely, and it'll look good all the way around. So here I am just placing it on the paper before I glue it down, and I'm cutting down the middle one to make it a thinner book, and that way it'll fit all on the paper. When you are gluing it on the paper, you want to make sure there is paper all the way around so you can fold the paper onto the inside of the book, and that way you don't have like any pages like flopping off on the corners and stuff like that. You want to have the page completely glued down tight onto it. So when you are gluing it down, do not use like extremely liquidy glue, like a whole bunch of big globs, because that will make the paper bubble up on the other side and it won't be flat and pretty, if that makes sense. So be like nice with your glue, be very thin with what you glue down, that way your pages will be smooth. And once you do that, you're going to go around the edges of your page and just trim it down so it's all kind of even, and that way you can cut the corners to make it easier to fold over, and then just kind of glue and fold over just like you see here. And again, here, do not use big globs of glue because it's just not going to be fun. It's going to take forever to dry and it's not pretty. You want your journals to be pretty. After that, you're just going to set it aside to dry, and while it's drying, you can just go through and get all your pages together for what kind of pages you want on the inside of the book. But like I said in the beginning, this is a 2-part, well, 3-part, but 2-part video, so I'm not going to show you how to put the inside of the book together necessarily in this video, but I will show you like my process of getting the pages together. So I fold the book once it's dry to kind of see how big of pages I need to make, so I trim them all down so they fit right inside the journal, and make sure you're keeping them folded when you're cutting them. So, because they're going to be folded on the inside of your journal. Don't cut a perfect size single piece of paper. They have to be folded because then it just doesn't work. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm just finding a bunch of pages that I want to put in the journal and I'm trimming them down. So I will have 5 signatures of 5 pages in this journal. That's not that many, but for the purpose of like showing y'all how to make a journal, that's just what I did. Signatures are like the piles of paper that you put together, just like one pile of paper that you put inside a journal. So these are signatures right here. My camera wasn't recording when I was putting the pages together, but when you're doing that, you just kind of match together what pages you think look good together. You can do like little pockets or smaller pieces of paper or certain inserts if you want. They don't just have to be pages, but for here I just did pages, and yeah, I put them together and then I made sure they would fit in the journal, and I put them aside because I will show y'all how to bind them in the next video. But here I am just finding the inside page now. So find whatever paper you want to put on the inside of your journal and trim it down so it can fit. Just one single page across the whole inside. I'm doing this really pretty green because I think it matches really well to the cover. But I also didn't want to use my big long straight cutter because it was piled under things. So I just used scissors. But I was very careful. Anyway, same process with glue here. Make sure it's super thin because it will bubble, and that's just not fun. Guys, please be generous with your glue. I cannot stress that enough. And then, yep, you just lay it down inside, and once again, you want to set this aside to dry before you move on. But here I'm making sure the corners are glued down really, really tight because they will peel up if they're not glued down tight right there. So that's important. Once it's dry, you just bend it. I didn't wait too long for it to dry here, so you can kind of see the pages coming up. That was just like error mistake because I didn't wait long enough to dry. So make sure yours are long enough to dry. And then here I'm just decorating the cover. So that is literally what you do. This is up to artistic needs. Like whatever you decide to do on the cover of your journal is what you're going to do next. Here I'm just kind of playing around. I'm going to put a paper here, and it's like map paper. It's really pretty, but I can write something in here, or I can put a picture in here, or whatever. I'm not too sure yet, but that's just what I'm doing here. And I decide to add a little spice, a little touch of some lace on the edges. The video on how to bind your pages into your book will be up on Wednesday. I love you guys so very much, and thank you so very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys Wednesday.